Hello, I'm James D. Watkins. This is another book review. Book reviews are book reviews that I do sporadically, not constantly. The book review, well, it's why do I do a book review? It's because the majority of people don't read. That's why. And the book reviews are usually no more than 13 minutes. Now, depending on the book and the subject matter, some reviews might be in installments because some books are huge. Chapters are huge as well, and they may be done in parts or in chapters. I will always list the title of the book, the author of the book, and how many pages as well. Now, I will also show you the cover of the book if I don't have the book available with me, some at times. Now, depending on the size and magnitude of the book, I'm going to highlight certain chapters, and if I do so, then I will state so as well. So you are aware that these are certain chapters that I'm reviewing as a whole or complete. My book reviews, they're freestyle, they're ad-libbing, but they stay on track and they do outline the whole book and the concept and the theme of it and the subject matter as well. Now, the ratings for the book review runs like this. 1 page means it's not worth your time, and it goes up to 10 pages. 10 pages means it's a purchase and it's worth your read. Okay. Now, this particular book review is called Samsung Rising. The author is Jeffrey Kane. Pages are 285 pages total. Now, Jeffrey Kane is the author of this book. He's a foreign correspondent and he specializes in Asia, culture, and technology. A major focus of his was Asia's biggest and usually secretive companies. Approximately 40 years ago, most of these Asian companies, these conglomerates and corporations, they specialized in making sugar, paper, fertilizer, and they also meddled in agriculture as well. These were huge conglomerates. Samsung Corporation had a chairman. His name was Byung Chul. I know that's maybe difficult for me. Byung Chul, he was the chairman at the time. And he was interested in making computer chips. And he wanted to compete. And he wanted to be competitive in the world's technology arena. Now, while Samsung was involved in other businesses, the chairman, he wanted to compete against Apple Corporation. Steve Jobs at the time was spearheading Apple. And Steve Jobs had a very interesting quote or saying. This is what he used to say. Quote, "People don't know what they want until you show it to them." End quotes. This South Korean company, Samsung, had Apple in its crosshairs. And it focused on one of Apple's weakness at the time, which was its diversity in its overall products. Well, overall product line at that time for Apple. That was its weakness. Now, Samsung begot BlackBerry phones and technology, now which fused into the smartphone landscape. And during that time, the BlackBerry dominated the cell phone market. Now, once Apple Corporation got into the smartphone market, they made it cool and fashionable. Samsung with BlackBerry was leading into the smartphone market, with Apple following them. So what happened was Apple sued Samsung and their BlackBerry over how do you put this? Trademark, copyright, proprietary technology, and this wouldn't be the first time or the last time Apple would sue other companies over technology applications or procedures. Apple's done that before. Now, what's interesting in the Samsung versus Apple saga is the fact that in 1983, Steve Jobs went to South Korea in the hopes of partnering with another company, and he wanted to build a tablet computer called Dynabook. I think that's still available, but under other companies, like Mitsubishi or Toshiba. Dynabook, that's what he wanted to delve into. Eventually, Dynabook was created and built by Xerox PARC Facilities. Xerox PARC, that's P-A-R-C. There's a lot of subjects and books on them later. As Samsung battled other technological and information companies, it also tried to develop in other areas as well. It tried to branch out. For example, in 1996, Chairman Lee, he wanted to invest $900 million into the newly formed DreamWorks SKG. Now that was the company Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and David Geffen started. But it was a no-go on that $900 million investment. And the reason why? It was because DreamWorks, they wanted too much control and little accountability. So Samsung, walked away from that deal investment. During that time, Samsung adopted a Korean logo, and it was called Taeguk. I'm gonna spell that Taegeuk, and it means Supreme Ultimate. I like that. That's cool. Supreme Ultimate. Also during the 1990s, Samsung hired an awesome bench of talent, and one of those talent that stood out, his name was Ted Shin, and he graduated from Gordon Bruce's courses. Ted Shin came up with an information phone back in the 1990s, and Samsung gave it the name iPhone. It's not the iPhone that we all know today, but an information phone from Samsung. Ted Shin was also behind the flash memory idea as well. Over time, because, well, it became clear over time that Samsung became bloated with too much bureaucracy, and that was a result of them attempting to dominate in different technologies and fields. The vision got blurred, per se. Their vision did become scattered. It was not cohesive or streamlined or tight. They did come up with online programs such as Reader's Hub, Video Hub, Music Hub, etc. The theory could be that since Samsung was not streamlined and focused, they missed out on other opportunities. Prime example is this one, I'm going to read. Andy Rubin was the founder of Android operating system. He attempted to sell the operating system to Samsung between 2001 and 2004, around that time. Samsung rejected Andy Rubin. They didn't want it. So Google bought that Android operating system from Andy Rubin for $50 million 2 weeks later. Samsung tried to lead in the mobile field, and how they did that is they created something called Chat On. But they ended Chat On 3 years later. It's interesting how Samsung tried to pivot either technology or in their marketing prowess. They put licensing music against making and selling semiconductors. So they put those two against each other and decided which one to go to, instead of focusing on one. They went after celebrity endorsements in order for them to be propelled into pop culture conscious. Therefore, that altered their marketing strategies. Samsung had to streamline later on. They had to. And it was mainly due to an inheritance tax, which was $6 billion. And they couldn't pay that tax. Once again, this is back in South Korea. So what Samsung had to do is streamline their whole operation system, logistical operations. They were forced to sell shares in the company as well to help pay for this $6 billion inheritance tax. Closing out this review of this book, even though Samsung and Android was regularly beating Apple in the smartphone market share, they had internal problems as well. The then chairman, J.Y. Lee, he was accused of robbery, embezzlement, and perjury. J.Y. Lee's father and grandfather, they ruled Samsung since its inception. Now, what's interesting is that Samsung came and comes across, well, let me put that back. What's interesting about this book and how they portrayed Samsung is they came and they come across as a feisty upstart, new kid on the block, but they seem to feel bloated from underneath its own weight, all the things Samsung tried to do. Now, a former vice president of Samsung once told the author of this book, this is what he said, this former vice president. He said, again, this is a South Korea company. We are becoming like you. we're becoming like Americans in that we only see the short-term gains and we're cold and logical, or it could be illogical. That's my review of Samsung Rising by author Jeffrey Kane. Pages is 285. From the rating of 1 page to 10 pages, I give this book. It was very well. I have to admit, it's very detailed on the philosophy, the work ethic, the mindset of a different culture, and how that culture infiltrates another culture, America, and dominates certain industries, or don't dominate. They become bloated, just like a lot of American corporations. So this book here, I give this between 1 page to 10 pages. I give this book. It was very well in depth. I will have to give it 9.5. Thank you. I'm James D. Watkins. This is a book review, Samsung Rising. Thank you so much. Take care.